So you might have heard Ontario's entire post-secondary system just got this massive injection of cash. But this story isn't just about the money. Nope. It's really about a fundamental rethink of what education is actually for in a world that is changing faster than ever. Okay, let's break down this multi-billion-dollar plan and what it really means for the future of learning in the province.
And look, to really get why this matters, we've got to start right here. This quote is from Dr. Andre de Freitas, the author of the report we're digging into. His 23-year journey from being a first-generation college student to earning his doctorate, all while racking up this absolutely staggering debt. It just grounds this whole conversation. It's a powerful reminder that behind all the policy talk and the big numbers, there are real people betting everything on their own futures.
Okay, so you're probably wondering why on earth was a massive, multi-billion-dollar intervention even needed in the first place? Well, it's because Ontario's world-class colleges and universities were facing what you can only call a perfect storm, one that brought the entire sector to a financial breaking point. And here's the thing, it wasn't just one problem. It was these three forces combining and hitting all at once. So on one hand, you had a long-term tuition freeze, which meant revenue was totally flat. At the exact same time, you had inflation just eating away at the real value of government funding. And then, the final blow? A sudden, really sharp drop in international student enrollment, which, is a critical source of income for so many of these schools. And the fallout from all that pressure? Well, it was immediate and it was brutal. To just keep their doors open, public colleges were forced to make a staggering $1.8 billion in cuts. A number that huge has serious real-world consequences, and it starts with what was actually being taught.
And you can bet those consequences hit students directly and hard. Across the entire province, 600 different academic programs were suspended. Just wrap your head around that for a second. 600 fewer choices, literally closing off potential career paths for thousands and thousands of students.
And, the human cost was just as massive. It wasn't just programs that vanished into thin air. In the public college system alone, over 8,000 jobs were eliminated. We're talking about faculty, staff, and the local communities that really depend on these institutions as major employers.
And listen, this wasn't just a college thing. The university sector was in a very similar boat. As you can see right here, 13 universities were posting deficits. Their collective shortfall was projected to hit $338 million. The whole system was basically bleeding money. So, with the entire system pretty much on the brink of collapse, the government had to step in. And they did, with a major financial intervention designed not just to stabilize things, but to chart a whole new course forward. All right, so let's talk about the big number. $6.4 billion in new funding spread out over 4 years. It's huge. But the report we're looking at frames this not as some kind of bailout, but as a crucial foundation for partnership. A chance for the government and the sector to build something new, together. But here's the key thing to get. This wasn't just about writing a giant check. It includes targeted investments in fields that are in high demand, a boost to core funding for schools, a little bit of wiggle room on tuition, and maybe, most importantly, a major strategic shift in how student financial aid works.
And that last point, the student aid part, that's where this story gets really, really interesting. This wasn't just about saving the system as it was. It was about strategically reinvesting in the parts of the system that are actually delivering the best results for students and for taxpayers.
So what happened was, the government decided to take a really hard look at the data behind the Ontario Student Assistance Program, OSAP. The goal was to make sure that public dollars were flowing to educational paths that had a strong, proven track record of success.
And wow, this table just lays it all out, doesn't it? When you compare the outcomes, the numbers are just black and white. Students from for-profit private career colleges had a loan default rate of 21%, way higher than their public counterparts. And far fewer of them actually ended up getting a job in the field they studied for.
So the big move was this. The government eliminated OSAP eligibility for students attending these for-profit private career colleges. That's a major policy reversal.
And just think about the ripple effect of that one single change. It frees up an estimated $300 million a year that used to go to support students in the private system. Now that money can be reinvested directly into making our public colleges and universities stronger. Okay, but here's the twist. This whole funding plan isn't just about putting out fires today. It's also a strategic investment to get Ontario ready for what is probably the single biggest workforce transformation on the horizon: artificial intelligence.
The report makes a really powerful argument here. It says we need to completely reframe how we think about AI. Instead of panicking about a crisis of job loss, we should see it as a period of necessary transformation. Yeah, old jobs will evolve and new ones will be created, but it's going to require a massive province-wide effort to reskill and upskill pretty much everybody.
And hey, this isn't some sci-fi future we're talking about. It is happening right now. A landmark report from Statistics Canada gives us the first concrete data on how AI is already changing the Canadian job market, and the results are actually a little surprising.
I mean, just look at these numbers. This is fascinating. In fields like software engineering, the very definition of an in-demand job, overall employment is going up, but all of that growth is for workers over 30. For new grads under 30, job numbers have completely flatlined since tools like ChatGPT came out. That's a massive red flag, right? It's telling us our education system has to adapt, and like yesterday.
So this brings us all the way back to the beginning. That $6.4 billion investment, it's not the end of the story, it's the start. It's the foundation for a much deeper partnership between the government and the education sector to build a system that's ready for whatever comes next.
So the report lays out these three big opportunities, basically a roadmap for making the system way more agile. First, create some kind of inflation shield so we don't end up right back in the same crisis. Second, give schools more flexibility to move money around to support new programs. And third, fix the funding model for part-time students to make lifelong learning a real option for everyone.
So at the end of the day, that's the whole point. The ultimate goal here is to use this moment, this massive investment, to build a post-secondary system that is truly ready for the challenges of the AI era. One that can adapt, innovate, and support Ontarians through the huge transformation that's already underway.
And that really leaves all of us with the one big question. Is this just a short-term fix, a temporary patch for a system that was in crisis? Or is it the first real step in a partnership to build a totally new kind of education system? The answer to that is going to shape the future of work and opportunity for an entire generation.